Everyone, welcome to Plants and Politics. So, NBC was one of 11 news outlets that sued to gain access to information about which companies received assistance from the 700 billion Paycheck Protection Program, as well as any companies who were granted what's known as the Economic Injury Disaster Loans. Well, the Small Business Administration finally released a trove of documents which show that properties owned by Donald Trump and Jared Kushner's family benefited from those programs. Yet the companies that use them retain little to no staff, which is pretty much exactly what the Paycheck Protection Program was intended to accomplish, was to make sure they kept people on staff and employed, hence the words paycheck protection. So here's what the analysis of the data revealed. A nearly $2.2 million loan was given to Triumph Restaurant Corp., which is located inside the Trump International Hotel and Tower in New York City. The company reported that not a single penny of over $2.1 million was used to retain employees, and the corporation later closed its doors. So good luck getting that money back. There were also two tenants whose businesses are located inside of Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue. They received more than $100,000, but they retained only 3 employees. 4 additional tenants with businesses in Kushner's failing 666 Fifth Avenue building received a total of $204,000, but kept only 6 employees on staff. And another company called LB City Incorporated, located in a Kushner-owned property called the Bungalow Hotel, received a loan for over $505,000. They reported that the money was used to keep 155 employees on staff. So, could be a lot, could be very few, depending on the size of that hotel. But this data also exposed gross mismanagement of money that was paid out through these programs. And keep in mind, you and I and our great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren are going to be paying this off. So that's our money. This is our money that they played fast and loose with. So, for example, more than 100 loans were issued to companies where either no business name was listed or there was simply a date or a phone number in the business name field. So often they would just say, business name not available. What? How can there be no business name available? You're lending our money. You're lending essentially our tax dollars to these companies, and you can't do your due diligence and figure out who it's going to and take note of that. And over 300 companies received loans in excess of $10 million by basically taking out these loans through subsidiaries of the parent company. This absolutely went against the guidelines because the guidelines stated that businesses were capped at $10 million per entity, with the exception of the food, hospitality, or hotel industries. So the problem with this, of course, is that a lot of these were supposed to be for small businesses, and they clearly weren't. They were for mega corporations who own all kinds of other smaller entities just to make it look like they have all these smaller companies, when in reality, it's a giant corporation. And they, a lot of times these companies do that to protect their assets, because if they get sued, then they can say, oh, well, that was through XYZ Corporation. That's not the parent company. That's just a small subsidiary. So yeah, go ahead and sue them. And that small subsidiary will file for bankruptcy. You'll get nothing. We'll shut it down and we'll just open up a new subsidiary. But you can't come after the mega corporation that holds all the assets, because that's not who you did business with. But the major problem with this PPP issue is that many small businesses were denied loans for a variety of reasons, one of which was the fact that there were no more funds available within a very short period of time of this launching. I happen to know of small businesses that were left to fend for themselves because the funds were all gone shortly after they launched the program. If they didn't get in within the first day or two, a lot of times they were out of luck. And a man named Kyle Herrig, he's the president of an accountability watchdog group called accountable.us, said, quote, "Only now, after its hand has been forced, hundreds of thousands of small businesses have gone under and millions of taxpayer dollars were wasted. Has this administration pulled back the curtains to reveal the malpractice going on behind the scenes?" So yeah, he's right. We know that nearly 100,000 small businesses had closed their doors permanently as of October, according to Yelp data. How many of those companies would have been able to weather this crisis if these large corporations didn't take such a huge piece of the pie, if they hadn't exploited loopholes in the system and government failures and taken more than their fair share? I mean, again, that's our money. And this also highlights the danger and issue in having government employees, or a president especially, who refuses to sell their businesses before taking office. This is a direct conflict of interest. Yes, that money didn't go directly to Kushner and directly to Trump, but it indirectly went in their pockets. Their tenants paid them rent. And these lawmakers and a president like this is always going to write and approve legislation that benefits their own personal interests if they don't divest, if they don't give up their business interests. They're not going to consider what's in the best interests of average Americans if they have a dog in the fight. This is why everyone has been screaming from day one. In situations like this, it's a massive conflict of interest. No other president in modern history has done this. And there's a reason for it. You don't want them to look at legislation and say, does this benefit me or does this harm me? Is this the reason why Republicans have been fighting so hard to push through a new stimulus bill that only benefits businesses? The new one that they have on the table, it does little to nothing for out-of-work Americans, for state and local governments, which employ a huge chunk of society. I mean, we don't know. We don't know, because in this country, you're allowed to get away with this crap. You're allowed to own stock. You're allowed to have businesses. This needs to change for obvious reasons. The grift is just horrific. All right, guys, as always, like, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching and listening. I'll talk with you soon. Take care. Thanks for listening to Plants and Politics. The only way we can take our country and power back is to spread the truth and build an army. So remember to like, follow, subscribe, and share on Facebook, YouTube, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks again.